Well, what do you think, Joe? Are they working hard and doing their job?
I think they were doing a fantastic job, Chris. They're very personable and efficient young fellows. I was impressed.
Great way to spend the summer if you were 21, 22 years old.
At that age, I think they're a couple of years older than that, but they're still in their 20s, and that makes you full of juice, you know. They're ready to roll.
Well, I'll tell you, the concept of the entire trip was very interesting, but none of it was possible. We had, I think, 21 corporate sponsors who all helped out on this thing, and so it's become a sort of a generic industry project. And although I can't tell you all the details right now, there's some very interesting things showing up during the testing, and we're gathering a lot more information about how strong the satellites are in various areas, and we've been surprised a couple of times. It'll be interesting when the trip's finished in the fall and we release the information around November or December.
How will that be released, Chris?
Well, what we're planning on doing is releasing in STV magazine actual contour maps that have been plotted from this information. So you have a map of North America with little numbers on that you'll be able to take these numbers and discover what kind of reception with what size of system will be possible in areas of the country. It'll be useful for manufacturers, distributors, dealers, even consumers. When they go out to pick a system, they can pick it more accurately because we measured every transponder on every satellite. And I know I ran the numbers for the first leg of the trip, and it took 41,500 separate power measurements for the first leg, and we got 2 more legs of the trip to go.
Go ahead. The list of information will be for sale, or anyone?
It'll be available through STV magazine.
Very good.
Just as part of our monthly editorial policy.
What's the latest update on the antenna?
Well, right now they'll be on their way to Nashville, coming back from the West Coast.
I see.
And they're going to stop in and spend a few days with us at the Nashville show and let everybody look at what's going on. Other than a couple of broken leaf springs, the trip so far has gone very well. We had a little problem with the HP power meter, which concerned me because they were out in the middle of nowhere tearing this $2,000 Hewlett-Packard power meter apart, and I was a little nervous about that, I don't mind saying. But other than that, touch wood, it's going well.
Great.
I think that's about it for part 1 of our show. We will be back after a short break with our panel. Hans Jenner from Luxor North America, Walter Everett from SRS, and Gary Saunders from Century Satellite Shop. And we're looking forward to that panel. Stay with us, we'll be back.
Is your TVRO plagued by sparklies, snow, wipeout? That's terrestrial interference. Only one thing worse than that, an angry customer turning you off forever. At Microwave Filter Company, trained technicians cite your source of TI, get rid of it, and save you money. For filters, seminars, field services, and ASTI, a complete service guide to TI, call toll-free today. With MFC on your side, you can cure TI, saving customers and money. A pretty picture's worth $1 million.
In the beginning, no one had heard of us. Today, 8 out of 10 feed horns on the face of the earth bear the name Chaparral, because we've made one industry breakthrough after another. In fact, in just 4 years, we've made 6, and that's only the beginning. At Chaparral, our focus is on the future.
Now for the second portion of our show, Chris will become a consumer, and he'll be talking with a manufacturer, a distributor, and a dealer. Chris?
Thank you, Joe. Well, I'm sitting here with 3 gentlemen who represent the 3 major facets of our industry, and I'll make up the 4th facet of the industry. I'll I'll play the consumer, which is not very hard since we are all consumers. Everybody consumes product. On my right, we have Gary Saunders, who, along with Bill Prochnow, is co-owner of the Century Satellite Store here in Wisconsin. They have 2 locations, one in Broadhead and one in Janesville, Wisconsin. They are retail dealers and are averaging approximately 1 installation per day right now. So obviously Gary's a very good representative, successful dealer. On my left, we have my friend Walter Everett from Satellite Reception Systems, who is a distributor in the Ohio area. Walter has 3 locations, 2 in Ohio, Athens and Columbus, and a newer location in Michigan, in Lansing. And he is the distributor, which is, of course, the link between the manufacturer and the dealer. And to represent the manufacturer today, we have Hans Jenner, who is the Chief Executive Officer and President of Luxor North America. Luxor is basically a Swedish company that manufactures receivers and, very recently, actuators for the satellite industry. What we're going to try and do here today is to show the interplay and the role that each of these players have in the overall flow of product from the manufacturer to me, the consumer. And we hope to talk about some of the problems that arise and some of the improvements that are needed, and just basically kick around the function. I'm going to start off as a consumer, and I'm going to go into a store such as Gary's. And when I come in to buy a system, and I'm the average consumer, how much do I know before I walk into your store? What kind of customer am I likely to be? Am I going to have brand name recognition? Am I going to know what size antenna? How much will I really know, Gary?
I would say probably the majority of the people that come into our store know very little about satellite antennas. They're there, they know that there's programming available that they're not getting, and they are stopping in and trying to find out what it is that we have to offer that they could use. So usually we have to start right from the very basics, telling them to turn it to channel 4 and that you have another instrument that's a receiver that you tune through the 24 channels, and we usually have to go through step by step and show them what the programming is. And hopefully at this point, after we've shown them the programming, they'll be interested enough to want to get into a little more detail. We usually don't go into a lot of nuts and bolts at first because it's a fairly difficult concept to understand. At this point, if they're interested enough to proceed, and we can kind of tell by their questions what they want to know, hopefully we can proceed to the sale. And they usually will at some point give us indications if they're looking for the lowest price system or if they want the very best.
What is the retail price range? How much money am I going to have to spend?
Most of our systems run in the $2,000 to $3,300 range, which is quite a range. But I would say our average price usually is upwards of $3,000. Most people, once we explain what it is that they want to do with a system, they usually go for the more expensive systems so that it'll do what they want.
For $3,000, can I get a fully automated system that allows me to sit in my armchair and select different channels and different satellites?
Pretty much so, right. It'll be pretty automatic system. We explain that there really is no top end, that this is not the ultimate necessarily, but that this would give them a good automatic, easy to run system that the wife and the children could operate also.
Can I spend more than $3,300? And what would I get for that beyond what we've talked about?
In our market area, we sell very few above that, but we would say that this is probably, when they get above that, they're almost getting into excuse me, commercial type equipment.
what kind of problems am I likely to have after the purchase of a system? What kind of service problems? Is it likely to break down? How many times in the first year?
Well, normally we tell them that there are, of course, like anything else, there's going to be service problems, and service is what we have to offer. This is what we sell. They're not buying a system from the manufacturer or the distributor. They're buying it from me or from our people.
Are you fully equipped to handle all kinds of service? I mean, even like suppose the LNA breaks down, or the down converter. What would you do for me?
That's the point. What I would do for you as a customer is first of all come over and diagnose the problem, and then chances are we would probably have to put some type of replacement equipment so that you aren't without a system for 2 or 3 weeks.
What kind of warranty do you have?
We have, our own store has a 90-day warranty complete, all parts and service. And then beyond that, it's what the manufacturers offer. We tell them that it is up to 1 year in some electronics and even up to 10 years on the dish that we sell.
But you as a dealer, in most cases, don't deal directly with the manufacturer. You go to a distributor.
Through a distributor, that's right. And we don't normally, we would not service an LNA or even a receiver unless it's a minor type of function. We, at this point, do not have our people trained well enough that they can get inside, especially if it's still under warranty. We'd prefer not to go inside of a system if it's under warranty. But we'll keep the customer, we'll keep you going so that you have something to watch.
Am I likely to be without my my equipment for any length of time?
No.
You'll come in and give me a
hopefully within a day, right.
Okay.
Calltronics is proud to announce we are now distributors for quality Luxor products. We here at Calltronics are delighted to now offer the great line of Luxor equipment and to provide a service center for those products. For more information, call our 800 numbers. The Nova M120 mesh antenna, it's new, and Calltronics is happy to introduce it here. It's a new concept in satellite antenna design. Simple, clean lines with easy-to-install panels. Just 1 hour for assembly. UPS shippable anywhere in the U.S. Precision die formed with extruded ribs for parabolic accuracy. The M120 is a full 10-foot dish for maximum gain with an FD ratio of 0.28 and a full 5-year limited warranty. The light weight of 165 pounds permits simple rooftop installations. Built solid and tough with a survival wind load of 120 miles per hour thanks to its 70% open area. It comes in black or aluminum. You'll be looking through it in your neighborhood soon. The M120 joins the Calltronics line of celebrated stainless steel antennas. The Nova SS Series, 66, 90, and 112. All are one-piece, smooth as silk, non-corrosive, extremely durable, and all have a 10-year warranty. For more information, call our 800 numbers. To help celebrate the new products, Calltronics is offering a sweepstakes, and you may be the winner. The prize is a complete satellite system. On a 3x5-inch card or plain piece of paper, print your name, address, and phone number. Then indicate whether you're a dealer or consumer by printing dealer or consumer on the card. That's all. Send the entry to Calltronics, Box 637, Richland Center, Wisconsin, 53581. The sweepstakes top prize, the satellite TV system, will include a rich black M120 mesh antenna, a quality Luxor 9550 receiver, coupled with a Luxor 9534 actuator for effortless satellite selection. 2 Luxor remote eyes to give you complete command of satellite and channel selection from 3 locations in your home. Also included, a 100-degree of OnTech low-noise amplifier and a P1 polar rotor by Chaparral. The Luxor 9550 receiver has a built-in Chaparral polar rotor control and modulator for vertical and horizontal polarization, signal strength LED display, stereo matrix, and direct systems with narrow and wide band deviation. Low threshold for video excellence, plus Dolby dynamic noise reduction and a 2-to-1 audio expander. It helps make this a quality system, and it's the prize in the Calltronics sweepstakes. This offer is void where prohibited by law. Shipping, delivery charges, and taxes are not included in the offer. Enter today to be eligible to enjoy a beautifully efficient Calltronics satellite receiving system by Christmas. Deadline for entry is December 1st, 1984, when the drawing will be held. But enter today. Great products, great opportunities. Another reason to depend on Calltronics for quality antenna systems.
Okay, the distributor plays an integral part in this as far as after-sales service, even for me, the consumer. For this panel, Walter Everett represents the distributor. What do you do in this chain when my receiver breaks down? I have returned it to Gary. Gary has given me a loaner. He has sent my receiver to you. What happens now?
Well, some of my manufacturers will provide us with units to that are reserved just for the turnaround service.
Immediate replacement?
Immediate replacement. I have also a 30-day policy myself for all manufacturers who don't. So we do, in fact, back up all of our products for 30 days. We also have a tech line so that if he's in the field, has a question, he can call into my people and help troubleshoot in the field. So we hopefully keep it in your home with this service, and then we further, I say, back up all our product for 30 days, and of course have extra units if he needs such.
Okay, if Gary comes to my home because I have a problem, he could actually phone a technician at your shop and,
sure,
and describe the problem, and perhaps there's a quick and easy cure.
Right, 10 hours a day we have a line open for our dealers.
The components you service, do you, I mean, will you service anything that you know, receivers, LNAs, motor drives,
everything except the microwave sections we service right at our installation. So a lot of times he sends me a receiver with a minor problem, we can have it back to him in 36 hours.
The microwave components like the LNA and the down converter, you ship back to the manufacturer for repair in most cases?
Yes.
The manufacturer, that's when he comes into play in this chain. And Hans Jenner of Luxor today is representing the manufacturers. What happens when these defective or broken LNAs and down converters come back to you? In your case, it wouldn't be LNAs, it would be down converters, correct?
No, we are not getting back any down converters. The down converters are to be repaired in the field primarily, and that means that the distributors are given the proper training and the parts to carry out that service. Should the distributor for any reason be unable to troubleshoot and repair that unit, it goes back to the factory. But I would say that's not the general role. It should be, our philosophy is that the product should be repaired and serviced on a regional basis.
By the regional distributor?
By the distributors, and it's up to us as manufacturers to see to it that we appoint such distributors that have a service capability, and also to supply them with the proper training and the proper part supply that they need to do this. Because
okay, we'll come back very quickly to Walter handling the microwave, because I see there's something arising here. Let's just assume, just for the moment, that it is a problem that your distributor cannot repair, and the microwave component is coming back to you. What kind of turnaround? How long am I going to be without my original component?
I would say that the turnaround time there should be no more than 48 hours from the factory, because at the factory there will be a pool, so that will be easily exchanged.
Okay, so there is an exchange policy of some sort. And then, of course, you have 3 to 5 days shipping both ways. So
depending on type of shipment, yes.
Walter is almost jumping up and down here, because here we have a situation where you say you don't repair the microwave components, and Hans as a manufacturer is saying that you, the distributor, should indeed.
Well, I think our repair department has just come online in the last 6 months. It does not have the capabilities to repair microwave equipment. Certainly in the future, that's what our aim is to do. But if people have any idea of what the equipment costs to work on microwave components costs, they would understand why having 3 installations, it would be impossible to set this facility up at each one of them.
How much does it cost? How much money are we talking to have a properly equipped microwave service facility?
From scratch, I would say that we are talking about something like $85,000 to $100,000 of investments in equipment.
And you've got 3 locations.
Talking $300,000 to fix items that I'm getting extras from my manufacturers to cover the problems. One of my LNA manufacturers turns around every one of my components for a full year, which means if his LNA breaks after 11 months, he gets a brand new one. that's the type of service I expect, rather than investing large amounts and having maybe 200 different facilities in the country being able to fix microwave. I feel there's other alternatives.
The manufacturers that you deal with, are you happy with the way that they are handling your service problems, the replacement, the exchange, the repair?
One cannot say that everything is at optimum level at this point, but it's very early in the industry, and we're working out the problems between manufacturer and distributor repair. And we hope to further have more education for the dealers to do more repairs for themselves in the field and at their own facilities, which will take the lump of the problem off of the distributor and manufacturing, and help the consumer have a shorter turnaround time.
Hans, isn't it unreasonable to expect a distributor to invest in $85,000 to $100,000 worth of microwave
Well, you
equipment?
asked me what the cost was involved here, and I would say that for down converter repair, the cost is less. And you can, as Walter says, you can argue whether the LNAs or LNBs should be repaired at all in the field. I tend to agree here with Walter that that type of product should go back to a factory. The down converter is a less sophisticated piece, and that could be repaired in the field.
Again, and we'll go to Gary here, if you have an LNA failure or a down converter failure, how long are you used to waiting to get it repaired or replaced?
It'll depend on manufacturer, and actually we've had very few of those particular items. We've had a lot more problems with actuators, to be honest with you, but we've waited for 4 weeks is not uncommon from the time that we send it in to get an item back.
4 weeks?
4 weeks is not uncommon. Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're going to just break away here for a minute and listen to this message from our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
Satellite systems from KLM are the first choice of a growing number of successful TVRO dealers. The reason is simple. KLM is consistently first with the innovations and products that earn industry recognition. There are many reasons why KLM should be your first and only choice in receiving systems and components. The Sky i8, the first single conversion signal receiver with quartz synthesized electronic tuning. The only quartz tuned receiver with drift-free down conversion. The X11, the first modular satellite dish ready for complete UPS shipment. The only antenna ever to win a design and engineering award from the Electronics Industry Association. First in elegance and economy. First with a complete selection of reliable products, all immediately available, all designed and manufactured by KLM. Remember KLM first the next time you order TVRO equipment.
All right, we're back. Hans, the distributor obviously plays an important part in this chain and is the liaison between you, the manufacturer, and Gary here as a dealer. How do you choose your distributors? What are your requirements for a distributor?
Mainly a background in consumer electronics, a knowledge not only of marketing and distribution, but above all servicing the product. I think that the key issue right now for the industry is to see to it that we have a sufficient service of these systems out in the marketplace. And that means that we require that the distributor shall have a number of technicians that we factory train that can assist the dealers and of course repair the products. It's not only the technical advice and over the phone, it's also physically training the dealers and participating in the field in their activities. That is very important. We are talking about in some ways a new technology entering the homes, and there are a lot of question marks and frustration around it if it doesn't work.
How different is the manufacturer-distributor-dealer relationship in North America compared to your native Sweden?
Well, in the European marketplace, due to the size of the European marketplace, we do not have distributors. We are in the European marketplace dealing with our own subsidiaries that sell direct to dealers and chains. So we do not have that middleman over in Europe.
Is it easier to control the entire situation when you are?
From a manufacturer's point of view, it's of course easier to control the flow and service of the product by that. But you have to realize that the North American market is an entirely different size, and you cannot, as a manufacturer, move any product without having distributors that are doing an efficient work, both marketing and servicing the product on a regional level.
Walter, when you select a dealer, and I'm not sure select is the right term to use, when you accept a dealer, what are you looking for? Do you have any criteria, or are you just out there to move product?
We're looking for people who have retail experience, but at this point, most of the dealers are finding distributors. There's a lot of people working out of their garages. It's difficult to choose at this point. We feel that as the market matures and we have district salespeople going out into the field prospecting for people, that will be part of the whole maturation of the industry, and that you'll see larger retailers and appliance stores and that type of thing being involved. And at this point, I would say most of the time the dealers find the distributor. Our job right now is to make sure that every dealer that calls us is really a dealer. I think that's our major function right now. In the next few months, we are going to be changing that around and sending people into the field. But at this point, I think our biggest job right now is deciding who is a dealer and who isn't, and making sure that we are not selling to retail people.
That's like me wanting to buy a system, so I go and get a couple of buddies and say, hey fellas, we're going to buy 3 systems. I'm going to be able to get them at dealer cost. I know this distributor, so I call you up and I say, I'm Chris's satellite sales, and I'd like to order 3 systems, please. What's my price? How are you going to handle that?
Well, you will first get your name taken. One of our people from the liaison department will call you back, interview you, check and make sure you answer all the questions correctly. And if you are not in established business right now with a storefront, then you are invited into our facility and, how you say, put through a few more tests rather than just going for the dollar, because it's very important for us to back up the dealers, because they're on the front lines, and we can't just opt for sales.
Gary, do you have this problem with your retail customers being able to buy wholesale and go around you?
That's right. Not every distributor goes to the extent that Walter has mentioned, and it's somewhat easy for someone, if they want to go to that trouble. There's mail order type arrangements, which is another segment that they can go through. But our market is still, we're still selling service, and the people that come to us that are serious about having a system, unless they really want to put it together themselves and be out on their own, they're still going to look to us. And it is not a big problem for us, but it does come up.
If you could change things, or what is your biggest problem right now?
Well,
installation, equipment failure, equipment availability, the quality of the equipment.
I would say equipment failure would definitely be. If it didn't ever fail, we'd have very few problems, I guess. We make some mistakes ourselves, and a lot of times the problems that we have maybe a minor cabling problem or something that we did wrong, and we recognize that. But it does cause a problem when you sell a product, a particular item, and then you start getting failures, basically because of maybe a design flaw in there, and there's not that much help. What do we do with 10 actuators that aren't aren't working properly. Can I go out after I've repaired them or sent them in for several times? I get to the point where I think maybe I'd be better off if I just gave them a new actuator. But what do I do? There goes my profit on those systems. That's the biggest problem that we face.
You mentioned to me earlier that actuators had the biggest mortality and failure rate. What is actually happening there? What is actually failing?
Mainly sensing units.
Is there, when the sensing unit fails, does the customer end up damaging his equipment? Is there a danger that he's going to damage his mount or his antenna?
We've had that happen where it has the programming has sent the dish past the limits. And
Hans, you design and manufacture an actuator system. Are there any precautions being taken to prevent them running off the end, this sort of a thing? We have a dealer here telling you right now his biggest failure problem is actuators.
Yes, we have been facing that problem ourselves in our systems, and that has been taken care of. And of course, it is a problem both for the end user and consumer when these things happen. I think the best way to protect yourself from these things happening is to only use what I would call manufacturers' recommended components. At this time, I don't see manufacturers selling integrated systems where the manufacturer takes the responsibility for the entire system. You will find that on the distributor level or the dealer level, people are putting things together. And I wouldn't say it's given that those components will work efficiently together. It might not even be that they are compatible. And that is, of course, a problem that we are becoming more and more concerned about. And I think it's, as I said, it's imperative that we as manufacturers pick up the responsibility and start moving integrated systems to the distribution and to the dealers.
By integrated systems, you're talking about the motor drive, the antenna, the receiver, all as a package.
Yeah, I'm talking about the entire package.
They're designed, they're compatible, and they engineered to work together.
Yeah. And as Gary said, I mean, the malfunction of a system can be as easy as a bad choice of cable.
What do you foresee as your biggest problem in the balance of 1984 for your company as a manufacturer?
I would say that the major problem is the authorization of proper distributors, and above all at this time to get a step further, together with our distributors, also get authorized dealer. So we will see that this dealer out there is authorized by us. He knows our product, he has been trained jointly by us and our distributor to handle our product. And I think that is the thing that needs to happen next year. I also believe that the marriage that's coming on between the established consumer electronics business and our industry will be beneficial for the future development of the satellite business.
Is Gary going to have to worry about competition from Radio Shack and Curtis Mather's stores? And,
I would say that he will see those things starting, yes. He will, of course, have one advantage, and I don't think these chains at this time have any experience or any ambition to start getting into installing systems out in the field. And there is, of course, the strength of the current dealer net that we have in this country. What it takes is to get these dealers to be trained and to be more competent in dealing with equipment. And that is a mutual responsibility between manufacturers and distributors.
Is there any precedent in chain stores for handling such complicated consumer items? Can you think of anything that is comparable that's already out there? Or are you suggesting that these systems are just too complex for a chain store such as Radio Shack, with all the installation problems, the inherent service problems? Is it too complex for them to handle?
I would be surprised if Tandy would consider starting to move 4 gigahertz equipment with the size of equipment that you have to install outside especially. I could see them selling the electronic components, but not out there in the field installing.
The outdoor work is the biggest problem.
Obviously, you have something to say about this, because if somebody like Radio Shack started selling these components, you would probably not be in the chain between the manufacturer and Tandy. You as a distributor would probably be bypassed.
Or Curtis Mathis. Or
Curtis Mathis.
Right.
Yeah, they're going to go. They would go direct to Curtis Mathis. They wouldn't go to SRS and then to Curtis Mathis, as I understand it.
Right.
Are you concerned about that?
Not really. We feel it'll push the market forward. Our sales will become greater sooner, and that it will you cannot be everything to everybody, and we know there's going to be competition. Our dealers know that they're going to have to be competing with these larger groups, and that they have to make the best of their head start and the advantage they have right now in the field, and that's your concrete work, and the outdoor work is what discourages most groups, like Hans was saying, from getting into this, because they do not have those field technicians. I think the only thing close is putting in a big screen, and that isn't the same, because that's all indoor work. It's the outdoor work that I think's got these guys stymied, and that's where Gary and the rest of the dealers have the advantage, and should exploit that advantage as fast as possible. Get as many people installed as possible, and use the leads and the references from these to further build their consumer base.
One of the reasons that a company like Sears gets so much business is because the exchange policy is so great. I mean, you can go down and buy a television set or a microwave oven, and with absolutely no questions asked, they will exchange it. You go back and bang, they will give you a new one. You say it's broken, bingo. Within a reasonable period of time after the purchase, of course. I could see some advantages there that would make the consumer buy his components from a large chain like that. Now, we're very aware that we pay a little bit more at Sears. In reality, the price is a little bit higher because of this exchange service they do have.
Well, I feel Gary will have that same advantage.
We have that policy in our own store now.
Right.
We are doing that, and our customers know that.
Can you continue to do that as you grow?
Hopefully we can, if we have the backup of the distributors and manufacturers.
That's right.
All the way up the chain.
That's right.
There has to be spare units sitting there waiting for Gary's problems. Mm-hmm. There has to be an allotment.
Okay, let's discuss that.
That's all that Sears is doing.
Let's discuss that a little more, and we'll do that right after this word from our sponsor.
At Chaparral, we won't let one industry breakthrough stop us. In fact, in just 4 years, we've made 6. And that's only the beginning.
Repair, I can't ask for anything more. You know, that's terrific. But doesn't this cost you a lot of money? I mean, where do you get the support from? How does this all come out of your profits that you made off selling the system? And can't you end up, in fact, losing money on a bad product?
That can happen, and has happened for us. We have some of our first installations were definitely not profitable because we made mistakes, and there was mistakes in the equipment. But we also have to have a profit margin to cover that, and that's why when people come in and maybe realize that they're paying a premium over ordering it through a mail order catalog, that's what we're there for, and we have to have that margin, and they expect us to service it on the other hand. I would also like to get some help from manufacturers and distributors. I hope that someplace on down the line here that the industry would maybe become like automotive industry in one respect, that we would get some type of warranty help. When we go out, sure, the receiver is going to be fixed and sent back, but that doesn't cover anything for our time.
Yeah, what if I live 30 miles from your store and there's 30 minutes of driving there and back, an hour?
That's right. I've lost several hours of labor, and there's no reimbursement other than the goodwill of our company name and keeping the customer happy.
Do you go to a distributor who gives you this kind of support? I mean, is that what you need in a distributor?
We have support, but there is no, from the manufacturer on down, there is no method for reimbursement of this type of service.
Walter, is the distributor in the middle, sitting between Hans and Gary. What are we going to do for this man?
At this point, there's nothing being done, and I would probably have to pass it up the ladder, because I do not feel reimbursing the dealer for faulty equipment and his costs, related costs, are certainly a distributor's place to reimburse. I feel it's got to be passed along, like the auto industry, as he was saying, to the manufacturer, because he's ultimately responsible for the field failure, if it is a equipment-related failure and not an install-related failure.
And I'll address it to Hans, does any manufacturer help defray the dealer's costs when he has to run out and spend a couple of hours doing a service call?
No, not what I know of at this time, but I said earlier that I think that during 1985 we will see authorization of dealers, and that will also include, of course, their service work, because I don't think that a small number of distributors with the volume that we now are moving can ever cope with the requirement for service and maintenance in the field. And that means that there will be established direct relations between manufacturers and dealers on this issue. I would also say it's also, of course, the responsibility of the manufacturer to see to it that their designs are being improved, that the QC is being improved, and to bring down the failure rate. Because in the very end, the manufacturer is hurt by this, and because the consumer reaction, and the consumer is the guy who really sells our product, because he is the guy who meets friends and neighbors and talks about the system he has, and that's our best salesman out there.
Your best salesman is a system that you've sold that the customer's happy with.
Yes.
Gary, the same thing applies to you?
Absolutely.
All the way down the tube.
Right.
Walter, you and I were talking earlier about problems distributors have, and you suggested that perhaps the major problem was dealer loyalty.
Well, I think you just touched on it. He said in 1985 we're going to see more dealer authorization. I think this whole concept escapes the average dealer right now. They see that if they can get a product in another state shipped in, that they're making money. In the long term, I feel that their longevity is investing in themselves to the point they can become an authorized, factory authorized, distributor authorized dealer. And that gets down to the problem of, right now, it's dealer loyalty. I spend the same amount of money on a dealer that is not as loyal to me as a absolutely loyal dealer, and that forces the cost for my loyal dealer up. I feel that when legitimate pipeline of product through authorized dealers is instituted, that you know, it'll become certainly more profitable for everybody all the way up and down the line. I find it very unprofitable now to deal with about 40% of people who are shopping price, and this is a buzzword right now, shopping price. It seems to be a key question right now. All the legitimate distributors are concerned with the low-ball people selling products so cheaply into their territory. But I think as time goes on and authorization takes place, you'll see this dying off, and it'll be good for the industry as a whole.
Wait a minute, if Gary's shopping price here so he can get a better price, and he's going to pass it on to me so I have to pay less, isn't he doing his job? I mean, shouldn't I want Gary to get me the best price he can?
No.
Ah, okay. Why?
Because it costs me money to back Gary up, it costs Gary money to back you up, and unless we all make that profit margin, we cannot do that. And you will not get that support from this low-cost, out-of-state mail-order distributor. He cannot authorize you to be anything. He is basically going to become the renegade of the industry.
So you're saying that a dealer who buys from one of these out-of-state quasi-mail order houses is inevitably making a mistake, and I, as the consumer, I'm inevitably going to pay the price.
Absolutely. Because I cannot give a 30-day turnaround on a receiver I didn't sell.
Who is selling?
And Gary wouldn't expect that from me.
Who is selling these components to these mail order houses, which you claim are doing such a disservice? And manufacturers, don't they control who they sell to?
Well, you would suppose so. At this time, I don't think that there, in this industry, is any manufacturer that has been able to enforce territorial boundaries. It is my belief and hope that this will surface very shortly, like the system we have in the regular consumer electronics trade. And I fully agree with Walter here that we need to do this. We need to protect territories and distributors so that they can have the margins to supply the necessary service. And even to us, disloyal dealers is a problem, because they seemingly do not understand the relation between buying from a regional distributor at this price and the service function. What happens is that they go and shop out of the state, they get the product, but when something happens to that product, they will come back to Walter. And Walter will then, as if he were our authorized distributor, he would have to take care of it.
And at this point, it's not profitable for me to repair any more than it's profitable for him to go out and spend his time replacing faulty equipment.
And what happens is, of course, that the consumer suffers, because he will be in the middle here, and it's like a ping pong game here. I mean, I didn't sell it. It's not my responsibility. Where did you get it, and et cetera, et cetera. Well,
there is a lot of that going on, and I can vouch for that because of my association with the magazine, and I get a tremendous number of letters from customers who are stuck with bad product.
But I would like to stress that the responsibility for this primarily is with the manufacturer. It must be the manufacturer that sets the rules on this issue, and it is at all times at the discretion of the manufacturer to appoint distributors.
You as a manufacturer, if Walter were your distributor, would you give him some territorial integrity and some exclusivity?
Yes.
Is that what you're looking for?
That's the only thing I look for in a manufacturer. I mean, not the only thing. I'm saying is that is one of the prerequisites for me handling a manufacturer now, is to know that I do have a market area that I can absolutely do my job, and my job is to go out and sell for him.
Isn't competition good?
Excuse me?
Isn't competition good for you?
Certainly.
Isn't it good for everybody?
Certainly, but on the same product lines within the same region, it isn't. If you have too many people distributing the same product in the same state or same region, you have a price war going on. That benefits Gary in the short term, but in the long term, everybody makes less money and has less money to service you, the consumer.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another point I'd like. Gary, how many different types of product do you carry from different, how many different lines do you carry? Do you specialize in one line?
We do specialize. We sell 90-some% of the antennas are one particular type that we believe in, and that comes through to our customer. We offer several different receivers that we have found just through our own experience to be pretty reliable, and several types of actuators. But we are trying not to handle a whole lot of different ones because, for one thing, the loaner situation, and we don't want to. When we first started in the industry, we felt like we were testing all the equipment for some of the manufacturers, and we got a little tired of that. So we're staying with the ones that we feel have proven themselves. And the customer doesn't know one brand name from another normally, unless they've really been shopping a lot of dealers. So they rely on us. So we try to handle a pretty narrow line, actually. We want to cover the price ranges, but not with a lot of manufacturers.
Marketing at the dealer level. As you said, the customer generally doesn't know much about the equipment, very little brand name recognition. To me, that tells me that somebody isn't doing their job. I can't think of any other consumer industry where there isn't brand name recognition. Why isn't there brand name recognition in this industry? Are the manufacturers not supporting you with marketing assistance?
I wouldn't necessarily place the blame on the manufacturers or the distributors. We all have to educate the customer. We have 2 stores, and one store we've been located for about 4 years since we started the industry, and the other one is only about 4 months. And we just recently been at the county fair in those 2 locations. And the store where we had been for 4 years, people are coming in and asking definite questions or came in to see us with the purpose of buying from us. The new location, where there have been very few dealers that really have promoted it, are coming in and saying, what is it and how does it work? So we could definitely see a difference. I feel that we have, in general, educated people as to what satellite television is in the one area. It would be helpful to us to have backup from manufacturers and distributors as far as ad slicks, brochures, and that type of thing, which we have had on occasion. Well, we've usually had to make up our own. On occasion, even cut something out of a magazine and show them how a particular product looks.
Well, Walter and I talked a little bit about that last night, as a matter of fact, about ad slicks and supporting dealer sales, and we'll get back to that in just a minute, but now I'd like to take time out and hear a word from our sponsor.
Want to know more about satellite TV? Then go to the source for product reviews and how-tos. We're on the road and out in space, and sometimes in very cold places, with features and technical reports. It's all in satellite TV. That's only $19.95 for 12 big issues of STV magazine. Call now, 1-800-438-2020, and get this LCD calendar clock free with your subscription. That's 12 big issues of STV magazine and the clock for only $19.95. The number again is 1-800-438-2020. 1-800-438-2020. Call now.
Okay, here we are again. Gary, you told me something interesting, that your first store has been in place 4 years. And you told me something remarkable about your sales in the last 6 months.
We've sold more in the last 6 months than we did the prior 4 years that we've been in business. And even though we've talked about some problems here, the problems have percentage-wise become much less. The equipment's gotten much better, and we're very excited to be in the industry. We're looking forward to continued growth, and I think the industry is solving these problems as they come up. We didn't have a problem with, let's say, warranty work because we didn't have that many systems out, and now we're moving on down the road and getting more systems out, and that creates new things. So it's really a good problem to have.
You think the industry's come of age?
I think it is. I feel so.
And how do you feel about, say, the next 12 months? Are you confident, excited?
We're very excited with everything, right?
Well, that should, if Gary's doing that well, you as a distributor should notice that kind of thing.
Yes, our growth in sales is would indicate the same thing as he's saying. The dealers like Gary who succeed far outpace the number of dealers that are failing. They more than make up for the sales of the people who are dropping out of the market. The people who were not committed, were working other jobs.
Do you think there's actually a weeding out process going on all the time?
Most definitely. The person who's not committed to spend his full time doing this has no business playing at this point. He's going to find himself snowed under and with a bad local reputation, having been and also ran.
The motto for the consumer up to this point has been caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. Can I let down my guard a little more now?
it's up to the individual dealer. There are still a lot of no-name products out there that are going to be sold because they are locally manufactured in a region, and they will be sold, but they're not necessarily going to be around in a year or two.
But there's some very good-looking, very good-performing product out there. We're getting into rather complex, and perhaps complex is the wrong word. They're easy to use, but they're complex to build. Microprocessor control, integrated systems where you sit with one infrared remote control and can select all functions of satellite viewing. Right. The prices have indeed dropped. The reliability has improved. Does this all flow down from the top, Hans? Is it? Are you guys making this happen?
I think that we are making it happen, but we are not making it happen alone. We are doing it with distributors and dealers. We are the guys who come out with the new concepts, which is reflecting the feedback we get from the field. And of course we have our own ideas, but this is a cooperation down the line here. And I would say that 1984 is going to be a good year. I think that people who say at this time that 1984 isn't that good are suffering from their own over-optimistic projections. 1984 is a good year. It is a good increase of the total volume being sold in the country. And I think that 1985 will be an even better year for all of us.
Just, we all like to play the numbers game once in a while. I'd like to hear, especially from Hans and Walter on this. I've got a number which I've pegged at between 22 and 24,000 systems per month for the month of July. And I'd like to hear your comments.
I'm not sure. I certainly don't have the figures in my hands, and I'm not sure anybody does on how much stuff is going out there, because there are so many secondary manufacturers. But if my sales are any indicator, I would agree with Hans here that if tripling your business from the year before isn't enough in '84, then you've planned wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about volume? You want to go on the record on volume?
I would say that the total volume for the year 1984 will be in the range of 500, 550,000 systems. There's no question about it, as we see it at this time.
You're that optimistic?
Yes, I'm very optimistic, and we have seen here after the spring sales for our part picking up tremendously, which is reflecting what is going to happen in the fall, because we are, so to say, the first guy in the chain here.
Well, you've all painted a very rosy picture, and Gary, I'm confident that the system I buy from you is going to give me good service, and that you will take care of me, and you've obviously got a good distributor here and a manufacturer. Everything is very, very rosy, and it's a far cry from 4 years ago. It really is, and I'm sure we can all remember that time. I've enjoyed talking to all three of you, and I hope that we can have more communications between the different levels. And don't forget us consumers. Thank you, Hans, Walter, Gary, for being here today.